everyone. Welcome back to bookbinding for occupations. Woo! We just finished steps 1 through step 10. So we're going to right now do step 11, 12, 13, and 14 for video number 2. So step 11 says to cut the interior cover piece, which is a plain piece of paper, and it's 8.5 inches by 5 inches. These have already been cut for you, so you're just going to pick out which color you want to match your cover. So here are my finished glued and finished cover pieces, and I have picked out this black paper that I'm going to glue on to this. So this will be the inside, and this will be the outside. So step 12 says glue the interior piece to the outside hard cover. Again, it says be sure to go light on the glue or it will bubble and just look absolutely terrible. So you'll take your foam brush, let the glue drip off, wipe off any excess, and again, you will paint the entire side of your interior covers, making sure that you're consistent and that you're even with the amount of glue. In all areas of your cover piece. Too much glue will make it bubble. Okay. So I've got glue. I actually did go a little bit heavy on that glue. So I'm going to take my sponge. I'm going to dab off some of my excess glue as much as I can get. And then I am going to glue it onto this side. So I'm going to lay this facing up towards me, just like this. And I'm going to place the glue side down on top of it. And I'm going to do this evenly. So I want to have about the same amount of cover paper showing on all sides. I don't want it to be all uneven and thicker on one side than the other, as much as possible. And while the glue's still kind of wet, if you do get it uneven, you can kind of move it around until you get a good border around all sides. So it'll look like that. I have glue on my fingers, and so you can see what happens to the paper when you have glue on your fingers. It starts to look really messy. So be careful of not touching this when you have glue on your hands, because that's what'll happen. For the most part, you can rub it off, but sometimes it sticks and you can't, so just pay attention to that. All right, so you're going to do that to both of your covers, and then once you're done, we'll be on step 13, which says match each of your signatures. So going back, you've got 5 signatures, 5 of them. It says match each of your signatures up with the signature template, and use the awl or embroidery needle to punch holes into the outside center of the spine for each set of signatures. So you each have something, and it says signature template, and yours does not have the number markings on it, but it has the little tick marks. This is a template for showing you where you're going to end up sewing your book together. So you're going to match each individual signature up with the template. And you're punching from the outside in. So you're going to open it up, lay it down, and I'm going to tilt the screen so that you can see how to punch a hole. I'm going to use the awl. This is an awl, and there's several different types of awls at your tables. And I'm also going to show you how to do this with an embroidery needle. Some of you have embroidery needles at your table. This is an embroidery needle. It's basically just a large needle that's not very, very sharp at the end, but it's good for punching holes. So you're going to line your tick marks on the edge of your signature template, and this part is the part that's going to take some time, so be patient with this. Line it up really nicely and punch a hole into the spine next to each tick mark. And if it moves out of place, just line it back up with the holes you've already punched and continue punching. I like to keep this hand that I'm using to punch, I like to keep it firm on the table. And then this other hand I put underneath the signature and pull up on the paper. Okay, so then you take your signature template off and you now have your signature with 6 holes. You're going to do that with all 5 of your signatures so that they are all ready to sew on. Step 14 says to match the signature template to the outside covers to punch holes. So I'm going to take an outside cover. I'm going to lay the template on it so that there is about a 1/4 inch around each side so that there's the same amount showing all around. I'm going to lay it down on the ground. I'm going to use the awl or the embroidery needle. I'm going to punch my 6 holes in both the front and the back cover piece. Okay, so here's what that will look like. Whoops. All right, let's try that again. Here's what that will look like. I have my hand underneath. Now be careful with your underneath hand that you don't put your finger where your needle's poking because you'll really hurt yourself. And poking your cover is going to be a little bit harder because it's thicker material. So you're really going to want to pull up with this and push down with this hand. Again, making sure that this finger is far away from your needle so that you don't come anywhere near your hand. Okay? So now you have your cover. Your cover has holes in it, as do each of your signature templates. They have holes, and if you open it up to the middle, you'll see all the 6 holes. Okay? Step 15 is measure about 82 inches or 1 length plus a little extra for each part of the book. And you're using the waxed linen or the waxed cotton. I am going to use something a little similar. It's a thin type of cord. And so what that means, it says measure 82 inches or 1 length plus a little extra for each part of the book. So there's 7 total parts of the book because you have 5 signatures and 2 cover pieces. So you want 1 length plus a little extra for each part of the book. So 7 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So a little extra is about 1.5 inches or so on each side. So you're just going to snip. So you've got your long piece. And then the next step, step 16, is to thread your needle. So you have curved needles. So the embroidery needle is what you use to poke your holes, and the curved needle is what you're going to use to do your sewing. So I know I said I was going to make this 2 separate videos, but that last part was really short, so I'm just going to make this part of this video. So you thread the needle from the outside going in. So this, I wanted you to see what that looks like. Here's your needle. Make this a little closer. Here's your needle. Here's the eye of the needle. So you're going to thread it from the outside in. You might have to pinch the end of your waxed linen or cotton to get it to go through, to make it a little flatter. And you see the little tail, you pull it through. Pull it through on that side. Okay, pull it all the way through. And it says make a double knot. So you're going to leave a little tail whenever you thread your needle. You want a little tail so that your thread doesn't come off. The place where you're going to make the double knot is at the very, very, very end, right here. Because you don't, when you sew, you don't want it to come right out of your book. So you're simply going to fold it over with your fingers. Make one knot, and then make a second knot right on top of that knot. Okay? You have a little tail. If it's much longer than that, you'll want to snip it. I'm going to go ahead and snip this a little bit. You don't want to snip it too far to the knot, otherwise it could just come apart and unravel, which is not good for your book. Okay? So you have this long piece of thread with a little tail coming out of your needle like this. The tail is on the inside of your needle. Okay? Step 17, stack the covers and signatures with the spine facing away. I'm doing this with just one cover. So that's what that looks like with the spine facing away. Work from right to left and start by going into the middle of the signature and then out the cover and then back in the same signature hole. So I'm just going to have one signature because you're only sewing them on one at a time. All right, again, it says work right to left, so I'm going to work from my right to the left, the opposite way that you would read. And I'm going to start by going into the middle of the signature. So I'm going to open the signature up. I'm going to go in the first hole. I'm going to pull my thread all the way through to where I have my knot with my little tail hanging off. Right there. You don't want to pull too hard or you'll pull through the paper. Okay, then it says, and then out the cover. So I'm going to take my needle, get your excess thread out of the way, and I'm going to go out the cover. All right, so now what I have here is I'm going to show you this up close. I have my signature with the knot. On the outside, the thread's coming out the signature and going in through the cover and then out the cover. Okay? The next thing in that step says out the cover and then back in the same signature hole. So I need to come back in the same signature hole that I just came out of, the hole that has the knot. So I'm going to come back in that. There's my needle. It's right next to my knot. It's not coming through the knot. And you're going to want to guide your thread to make sure that it's not knotting on the other side and that you're not pulling too hard. All right? If you pull too tight, your book's going to look, you're going to have a little creases in it. So just pull it just enough to get it through. You don't want it to be too loose or too tight. Okay. All right, my thread tangled, so give me just a second to get it untangled. And sometimes that happens, you just have to be patient.